Well, there you are. Hope you're having a great evening. It's the last, Wednesday, right? The last Wednesday of the year. And that's pretty epic given what has happened in this year. Dr. J. Calvin Tibbs with you. I'm your purpose development coach here. And I think somewhere around November, no, around probably May or so is when we started devoting Wednesdays to purpose. And if you're just joining us for the very first time, we want to welcome you into something that we're going to summarize. You can't summarize all of purpose. I guess you couldn't if you use the Logos. The Logos is the written word of Scripture. And in uh, the Scripture, it does say that we know that all things work together for the good, Romans 8:28. For those who love the Lord, for those who are called in accordance with his purpose. So before we go any further, I want you to remember to like, share, tell somebody you want to get on this one. This is a summary, and I'll answer any purpose questions you may have as well tonight. So like, share, and subscribe if you would. If you do that, that would be great. So let's go ahead and pray, and we're going to dive on in. Hello to everybody. Father, we bless you. You're worthy. You're kind. You are faithful. You have done more than we even know. And yet you keep doing it without our acknowledgement. How incredible you are. Help us now in our time, the last Wednesday of 2020, the last Wednesday of an epic year where much has occurred. Father, fill my mouth with your words and my lips with accuracy, that Jesus might be exalted even as the folks here are being trained and sharpened. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Well, hey to everybody, Yolanda, Marlene, Minister Steve, Digital Hug Land. I hope everybody is good. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, too, as we have a New Year's Eve celebration from 7 until 9. It's going to be great. And the word of the Lord is going to flow. So he's going to flow right now, too. I hope you have, if you don't have, a purpose development book. Can you see that? Do you have a purpose development book? If you don't, just make up one. It's just a Walmart notebook with all kinds of notes because of the learning. You know, I need to keep growing so I can keep flowing and bless you. You know, I'm doing it for my own growth as well as it is beneficial to you because we're called according to purpose. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. 2020 purpose points. We might get through 4 of them. We may get through 6 of them. I know we're not going to make through 2020 purpose points. I know we're not, because it's so much. It's deep. The breadth of this content is it's telling. So what I want to do in sort of going over purpose points, one of the main ones that we talked about from earlier this year up until recently is what we call meaningful excellence. So if you see these bricks behind me, and if this brick here is the start of a process and you're trying to get here, here would represent meaningful excellence. Here is the beginning of your journey. It's the beginning, like knowing the definition of the word purpose, which, by the way, in the Hebrew, or better yet in the Greek, it's a setting forth. It's what's set forth before you. We're called in accordance with what is set forth. There are things about you that only you know. There are things about you that you really should know. Purpose, being one of those things, is easily understood. We've talked before about your purpose is not like finding a needle. Hey, James, in a haystack, your purpose is the haystack, right? So your purpose is everywhere. Why? Because we know that all things work together for good, for those who love the Lord, for those who are called in accordance with what has been set forth. So what's set forth in you may be different from what's set forth in other people. And now we've had people or conversations with our family and different people who, and I've been in this mode where what has been set forth, you don't want to do. Anybody agree with that? Hey, Jasmine, anybody agree with the fact that sometimes what's obvious for you to do, you don't want to do? Can I get a witness? Can I get an amen? Is there anybody that will say, yeah, I know that's you, Yolanda, because we had those conversations. You're first. I know. Listen, this walk with the king is not for the faint of heart. You know that. And I'm talking to warriors on here. Because sometimes you have to apologize. Sometimes you have to initiate something. Sometimes you have to say, I'm sorry. Sometimes you have to be the one that brings peace when you're not even the one that caused the tumult. So knowing that that's how this goes, to get from here to here, we've got to get there on purpose, if you will, on what is set forth. You can literally move up the ladder of your life based upon what has been set forth within you. So when we talk about one of the purpose points for 2020, meaningful excellence, remember we said it's the state or condition of being outstanding at sustaining a strong sense of purpose under all circumstances. And we spent months on this. And the practical part of what this should do for you is for you to look in your life and see what condition are you in when it comes to sustaining what has been set forth. As an example, let's say you wanted to start a business this year and you didn't do what was set forth before you. So now you are still where you were when 2020 began. Well, then in order to get to meaningful excellence, you have to do something. Let's be honest with ourselves. And the way to get honest is to use what's called critical thinking. You've heard that before. We're going to talk about probably those two purpose points above all of the other ones, maybe a third one, course correction and narrative protection. To put all this together is really not hard when you understand that you were made with things already set forth. You don't have to look for them. You don't have to look for a gifting of singing like Yolanda. She's one of the most beautiful singers that I know. I mean, when you hear her heart, you hear the heart of God. Why? Because singing is set forth. So if Yolanda were to say, I don't want to use that gift, which you didn't say, then what we're really, if that were the case, what we would be doing is not using the critical thinking that's necessary to cause meaningful excellence to emerge. And so it is with anything else in your life. Whomever you may be here, you have lots of gifts, you have lots of talents. And again, a lot of people stay in the paralysis of analysis, trying to figure out when they should start, where they should start, how to do this, that, and the other, when everything in us has already been called from us to be set forth before us. Now, there are two befores happening. It's set forth in you, it's set forth before you, and it's also set forth by the one that made you. That's the whole proximity of giftings inside of the bread, and you're the bread. So what's in you has already been made. Hands put on it, fashioned it. In fact, sometimes what has been put in us is reasonably deterred by hands, meaning people shape folks in the wrong direction. Some parents want children made in their image versus helping children walk out in the image that God made them for. And when that happens, children sometimes are angry with parents because you did this. And sometimes children are angry with parents because they don't know how to break into what they have been formed by. But meaningful excellence can help you. So here's some points that I want to give you. And I'm asking you this. I wrote here, why is it important to pursue excellence on purpose? And the answer I gave when we did this way back in October is that if you are not excellent on purpose, you will be average by default. If we're not walking in a state or a condition of being outstanding, and see, that's the key when we know whether we are or not. We know when we're giving a half effort. You ought to know that. You got to know that about you in a relationship, in your walk with God, and your business, and your friendships, and a project that you're working on. You know when you're being outstanding, and you know when you're being lazy or you're not putting it all into it. Now, you can go into all the reasons why not, but I'm just saying meaningful excellence must have in its presence the outstanding effort of being or maintaining a strong sense of what's required, what we call a strong sense of purpose, which we're going to go into. And the strong sense of purpose will cause you to continue to move from here to here. See, the only difference between you, and I'm going to use the term millionaire for a minute because I fully expect that the Lord is going to, well, let's see, that's already wrong because the Lord already owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. And it's that thinking that I was just about to espouse that many of us think, Lord's going to bless me. The Lord's already blessed you. What are you talking about? He has given us all things that relate to life and godliness. That includes all things that relates to life and godliness. Now unto him was able to do exceeding abundantly beyond all. Okay, so it's not an issue with God because the more you have that you can bless others with, he loves a cheerful giver. So for me to phrase that with, one day the Lord's going to bless me with, presumes that I already don't, that I don't already have it. And it's not true. So I'm going to rephrase that. When I continue to execute the principles, I am certain millions will result. Oh, you think? Yeah, I do. In fact, I know it. I know millions are going to be the result of just like these blocks being placed upon another to form a wall. The person putting them there does not have to ask that the wall be formed when you're forming it with your works, when you're forming it with your actions. I hope this makes sense. See, because I can talk about a wall all day, but if I'm not walking in a strong sense of purpose, then I can talk about it all day. I can pray about it all day. I can fast all day. But the work required will produce after its kind. And I'm going to tell you this as an example about a guy that was being called to a stage. And I don't know if I shared this with you here before, but the fact of the matter is, thank you, sweetheart. The fact of the matter is, hey, Adrian, how you doing? The fact of the matter is that he was called to a stage because he had like 3 PhDs. So by default, the idea was he's the smartest guy in the room. So the host gave him a combination lock without giving him the combination and said, you're the smartest guy here, using, of course, the parody that if you're educated, you're smart. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. Being educated means that you are specified. You are specifically smart in that area. Just like if you don't have a degree, but you have a skill, you're specifically skilled in that area. And so you're smart in this. And she assumed that he was smart enough to open a combination lock without the combination. So 10 minutes would go by and she'd address the crowd. And then she'd check on him. How's it going? Can't do it. It's like, keep trying. You're smart. Come on, you had 2 or 3 PhDs. This went on for about 30 minutes until finally she said, listen, here are the numbers. And she gave him the 3 numbers. And guess what happened? Voila! The lock opened. Why did the lock open? Somebody tell me why the lock opened. Why? Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me why? Why did the lock open? Are you guys not paying attention? Are y'all watching me on TV? Don't watch TV and me. I mean, come on now. We're only together once a week. Well, I know. 5. And there's a delay here as well, which I am aware of. But somebody's going to pick this up. Why didn't the combination work for the smartest guy in the room? Why didn't the lock, I should say, why didn't the lock open to continue is the point. Yeah, it is. It is, Minister Steve. You're exactly right. So y'all not getting this? You're not getting the answer? All right, I'm going to answer it for you in the interest of time. The reason why the lock wouldn't open is not because the guy wasn't smart. The reason why your combinations have not opened. Correct, sweetheart. Absolutely. My sweet, darling First Lady. Y'all pray for my first lady so that her hip will stop hurting. He didn't have the key. Yeah, he didn't have the key. And you know what the key was? The combination. Once he knew the combination, the lock opened. Check it out now. It's not because he was the smartest guy that he was qualified any more than he was the smartest guy and still couldn't do it. This only had to do with knowing the combination. That's it. When you know the combination that moves you from there to here, you'll go from there to here. You'll go from talking about it to living it, from praying about it to possessing it, from having faith statements to having the possession of what you have and thanking God that you do. It's the combination that's missing. It's not the smarts. It's not the special powers. It's knowing the combination. And see, people who make millions know how to make millions. They're not necessarily smarter than you. In fact, you know this. Most millionaires are not even college graduates. They don't have to be. They know the combination. I am telling you, meaningful excellence is a combination. Checking on the state or quality of being outstanding. Are you outstanding? Or do you carry around a ball and chain of attitudes, of fear, of bitterness, of you self-condemn? If you're carrying things, and it may not be that, but it may be the bad practice habits that are like a ball and chain that every time you get ready to break through the chain, clink, you hear it. So whatever you're carrying is evident by what you are currently producing. So what I'm saying to you as you follow me in this pursuit is very simply find out the combination. I'll be honest with you. When I first was aware that I was called into the ministry, I did not want to be called into the ministry. I did not want what I thought came with it. And I thought my life would be minimized by things. I grew up Baptist, went to a Methodist church in college, went to Assemblies of God, charismatic faith movement, and all those folks helped to shape me. It still did not help me to want to obey what I heard once I kind of finally knew it, because I had all these preconceived notions. Now, if my package of gifting is in the area of what's set forth, what's obvious, and I don't want it, thank God, God is not a pouting God where he stomps around heaven and is angry that folks won't listen to him. Because his great love surpasses knowledge, he keeps working. So he took me through multiple things. And then finally, I'm sitting in a place in Texas and I look at the minister and I say, I wouldn't mind, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, I didn't tout myself as a preacher. I grew up with hooping and hollering. Yeah. I grew up in all that. So I know how that goes. But I kind of thought one day, if I'm ordering French fries, which is basically communication, I'm not asking for a McDonald's Happy Meal. I'm just simply saying, I want a Happy Meal. And so in my mind, and if you're that guy, do it, do your thing. Or lady, do your thing. Woo, do your thing. But I'm saying for me, my thought was, why is that like that? When every other conversation doesn't have this. And so I had these things that I don't want to do that. And so I grew up not wanting to do that when I finally accepted that I'm supposed to do that, not but the word. So one thing led to another, and then finally I began to accept it. But I will be honest with you, it wasn't until maybe a year ago that I finally accepted that a part of my anointing, my gifting, what is obvious, what is set forth, is that I'm supposed to be teaching, I'm supposed to be speaking, writing, and singing. Those are the 4 things I'm on the planet to do. So if I don't like it, It doesn't mean God's going to cut off my supply. What it means is that I am missing the places of excellence because I am denying them. Like some of you hide behind being timid, just like I hid behind not wanting to. This is a will issue over here, and it's a will issue over there. One of the 5 components of your soul: the mind, the will, the memory, the imagination, and the emotions. And they are all subject to the will and what you do with your mind. So if in your mind you want to stay here because you don't want to pay the price to get there, or you don't want the price that's in that, you just don't want to do it, my encouragement is you got the rest of eternity to enjoy, or if you will, some are going to be in regret. But if you're in heaven, you won't be in regret. But what you could have done if you just submitted to meaningful excellence, the state or condition of being outstanding at sustaining a strong sense of purpose. So I just want to encourage you to make up your mind to be, and you're going to hear this next year because that's the series we're going to be on, the better version of you. Yeah, see, the better version of you cooperates with your design potential, which allows you to be outstanding at sustaining. Like all of you ladies who cooked during the holidays, you didn't start and stop. You were outstanding at sustaining until it reached the plate. And then folks ate. And then they said, "Woo, that was so good." Then you know fruitfulness has arrived. It's the same thing in life. But if we don't understand that the combination to get where we are supposed to get, you individually, is something tailor-made for you, but the steps are easy. Be outstanding and maintain a quality, a sense of being excellent at sustaining a strong sense of purpose. And if you do that, purpose being what's set forth, you'll walk in what's already yours versus trying to get something that's already yours. Paying your house off is already yours. But figuring it out, you can work that out, or you can ask, what excellence can I provide meaningfully and maintain a strong sense of that over a period of time? See, that's the right question. Not if you pay your house off, you still got to pay taxes. Yeah, but let me make sure I'm getting this right. Taxes are far less than a house note. But see, again, people put in their minds what they want to have as obstructions to their progress because their will is still determining if it desires to or not to. But meaningful excellence, again, it is the state or the quality of being outstanding at sustaining a strong sense of purpose under all circumstances. Let me cover this with you because I think it's necessary to go over this growth inside of us in the area of meaningful excellence is going to require 3 things. It's going to require that we prioritize our learning. We're going to have to prioritize the learning. You know, some things are first, some things are second, some things are third. Nobody gets up and put their clothes on and go to work or go to church or go to the mall. You get up, you wash up or take a shower, then you dress up, and then you go. See, that's not hard. You know the combination. You know the combination for leaving your house. You also know the combination for paying it off. You know the combination for having enough money to live off of at a level where you enjoy and to have money for your children and your children's children when you leave to go and meet your maker. You know the combination. It's the same as you don't get up, get dressed, and go. You get up, you wash up, you get dressed, and then you go. So what needs to be washed up when you wake up to your design potential? What are you waking up to? What have you discovered finally that you're going to stop doing? Like in my case, it was denial. When are you going to stop denying that I blessed you to do this? When are you going to stop denying? I'm going to tell you this too. As soon as I stopped denying it, to be honest with you, it was really in the beginning of this year, which is a shame, but it's the truth. You know what has opened up? Speaking engagement after speaking engagement after speaking engagement after speak. I mean, I'm just saying, This could have been going on for years, and I would be far more content in my belly. I would be further along in something because there's faithfulness according that is in step with moving forward. Pressure could have been off. I don't know what all could have been done here, but I was doing everything but that. Of course, I'm ministering on Sunday morning. I'm supposed to do that. I'm the pastor of the church. But I am saying to you that perhaps even in that, there was something that held me back in my mind, and I'm just not doing it anymore. I'm going to walk in the state or quality of being outstanding at sustaining a strong sense of purpose under all circumstances, which means I'm going to prioritize differently. That means looking for new information, putting yourself in the driver's seat, not waiting on somebody else to drive you. Once again, getting new information, putting yourself in the driver's seat. And then when you sit in the right seat, you will unseat what's called microaggressions, those little things that you are held up by, those little sins that easily beset us, attitudes, behaviors, tendencies, habits, ways of processing, those microaggressions that put you back in your place. They'll be gone. You know why? Because the new information puts you in the driver's seat. Now you're not a product of your environment. You're not subject to circumstances. Because every time you turn around, no, not anymore. Not when you're in the driver's seat, it doesn't. Because you know how to go from A to B. All right, we're going to end it on that one. Let's go more into meaningful excellence, but this time we're going to talk about critical thinking, because critical thinking is necessary. I've talked to some folks about this critical thinking, and I've just heard so many testimonies about our younger generation, Z and millennials, who didn't get some training, basic training, on things that many of you as older people already have mastered. When I say older, you're at least 50, and I know some of you are younger than that. You are a gold mine waiting to happen. And when you wake up and smell the purpose, you're going to be a very wealthy person. And I'm going to tell you why you're missing. What do you mean you're missing? The information you have that you've already paid the price for, that's normal to you, is a gold mine in a generation that doesn't even know. It's so much. I just don't want to give the literal examples in case somebody's listening that fits the category. But I'm just telling, it's missing. Just look around. Like I notice people driving. You ever notice how people drive like crazy, all up on you, and they slide in between different people and stuff, and you're praying that they won't do it, but to them it's a video game, it seems. What are they missing? Critical thinking. Okay, so let's go over that. Critical thinking. When you think critically, you think it through. That's just a better way to say it. That's an easy way to say it. Critical thinking is think it through. You've heard that statement before. Just think it through. It literally has to do with thinking what's called circumspectly. Circumspect thinking is looking up. How does it affect the highest divinity if you do this? Look down. What are the consequences if I do the thought that's in my mind? Look left. How far can I take this and it still be right? Look right. I know I'm reversing in TV land. Look right. How does it settle with the setting? Think about the sun as the rising. Can this thought continue to rise? If it sets, is it well? Am I in violation? Am I being helped? If you look and think circumspectly, you will minimize, here you go, you're going to minimize errors in purpose that affect your future. You'll minimize errors in understanding what has been set forth. You will minimize the errors in what has been set forth, because those things affect your future. You will also heal the wounds from the past. Like all those times I should have been more focused. If there are wounds back there, understanding critically that you just weren't awake yet, son. That's all. So now that you have awakened, Let's go. So now your past is covered, any wounds back there. Your future is covered because you have taken advantage of minimizing these errors. And then when it comes down to the present, your attitudes and behaviors come together. They're galvanized. You know, if you're designed for this, wasting time over here is wasted time. I mean, really, if you know it's a waste, why are you doing it? So if you understand your purpose and you think critically here, 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 and here, then you're going to realize my attitudes and behaviors just sort of line up with this. I mean, I don't have time. You'll actually get more time when you know what you're here for with your time. You'll know what to do. I hope this makes sense. I mean, I could go further. We really stopped on 2 purpose points, but meaningful excellence is so important and critical thinking is so important that when you put them together, it all works for you. You have extra working for you, and you don't have to ask for what has already been given. You just seek and you'll find. I know, ask, seek, and not. I get that. But many times people ask for what they already know they have a right to, but they keep asking as if they have to qualify on the basis of humility. Listen, you know if you're humble or not. And if humility is a basis for blessing, why are so many wealthy people arrogant? Because humility is not a basis for blessing in that context. Please don't misunderstand this. Humility is necessary for learning. Some people will learn what they need and bash everybody on the way up. So I'm not trying to move humility away as if it is not important. I'm just simply saying, if you think that God won't bless you because you haven't been humble, you need to think again. He's blessing the wicked. He reigns on the just and the unjust. And I heard somebody say, what makes you think it's God? Because every good thing and every perfect gift comes from above. That's why. Because it's the Lord who's doing the blessing. It's not the devil. The devil don't have a blessing bone in his wretched body. All right, so the final piece here in our purpose, 2020 purpose points, I think I want to talk about course correction and narrative protection. Y'all got 5 minutes for that? Yeah, exactly. Obedience is the key. You're exactly right, First Lady. Obedience is the key. That's what one of our grandchildren speaks about, when they're like trying to get us to understand what they want to watch on TV, and we're like, "What?" They say this. It's funny. It is so funny. All right, so let's deal with this concept of course correction and narrative protection. And I don't see my note here, so I'm just going to go with it as I understand it to be. If your mouth is messing with your life, then your course will be directly affected by what you say. I'll say that again. If your mouth is messing with your course or your life, until you change it, your destiny is in peril. Let's put it this way. Let's see. If you understand the power of the words that are in your mouth, you would come up with some new words to change your current direction if you understood the power of your personal narrative. If your narrative is off and it's not corrected, then your course will not ever line up and be changed. Your narrative has got to be right so that your course, your way can be right. Your words and your way, they go together. Please understand, they go together. They don't separate themselves like a monster. They go together. And if you are wanting to walk in purposefulness in this upcoming year, we're just dealing with 2020 purpose points. We've only done 3. We're on the 3rd one now. Meaningful excellence, critical thinking, and course correction and narrative protection. You have to get control of your narrative. Are you going to go here or not? Or you want to stay here? You can't go here planting seed to stay here. It doesn't work. It's almost like rowing and complaining. You are making progress, but you're also having setbacks. So make up in your mind what meaningful excellence means and wrap your conversation around that. Now listen, You can't tell everybody where you're going and what you're about to do. You can't, because they will rain on your parade. They'll rain on your parade and block the street. They'll take the permit away before you even apply for it. That's why you can't tell everybody what you're doing. You can't. Because if you are not predisposed to a great narrative, then their words take over and become your narrative. What? Yeah, it works that way all the time. It works that way all the time. So you've got to get control of your narrative. What words should you be speaking? Well, answer, they are the words that take you on the course you desire to achieve, or the place where you're trying to go, the place where you're headed in. And listen, I'm going to tell you, like, I think back to when I was getting the PhD, and my wife, who has a master's in curriculum and design, would ask me often, okay, what's next? And you know what? I'd be like, I don't know. I know some of that has to do with just our basic makeup differences. But you know, the reason why I didn't want to know is because between pastoring a church, trying to make ends meet with certain things I was trying to get done at the time, and recognizing I hadn't been in school in 30, goodness gracious, 30 something years, 83, 93, 103, 2003. Good Lord have mercy. 35 years. And you jump in at the PhD level? Along the way, you pick up master level courses with this program. I was just trying to make sure I did not feed myself a narrative of doubt. So I wasn't looking 5 courses down and what? What's the next course? That's how I dealt with it. Had a stroke in the process. Oh my God, man. I mean, God's good, man. I'm just telling you, had a stroke in the process, lost my mother. She, passed 2 years ago. And in the process of it, downsized. All of that going on while pursuing a PhD. I remember going on vacation with our family on a cruise. They'd be up on the deck, sunning it out, and I am in the galley or inside of our room finishing homework. So with the medical setback, you're talking, I think, 4.5 years to get it, which would have been maybe 3.5 had I not. And I was just determined. Why? Because I set my narrative in this direction. Nobody in my family is a PhD. So it's not like, oh, you're the, great poobah. I'm making the point that some of you have big goals. And sometimes it's difficult to look at the bigness of it. So look at the smallness. I got a great friend, or actually his cousin of mine, who went to airborne school, Ranger school too, and went to Afghanistan, and he lost 2 of his legs and part of the activity of his hand. And Cedric is a great man, and he went through a story with me, or he talked about it afterwards, and he was like, Calvin, why does this have to happen to me? And what do you say to a guy who is a physical specimen? I mean, he's cut. He has a wife and 2 children. What do you say? But I said what he said to me, because he's the one that said to me he was dull. And that sharpened him. He said he knew he was a dull pencil, and God was trying to sharpen him, and he wasn't paying attention. Now, I couldn't say that to him, but that's what he said to me. So I then regurgitated. Well, before you said, God sharpened you. He's like, yeah, I know. And he moved on. Let's come back, because that's the point. God sharpened you. And so all of your setbacks, all of your challenges, all of your naysayers and the people who rained on your parade and they took the permit, made sure you didn't have it officially, and then they blocked the streets so you couldn't do your thing. It's a new day. There's another street. There's another city. There's another permit. There's another opportunity for you to get it done. Look at the small thing and keep taking small steps, because that's what Cedric said occurred well before the accident or the act of war where he was wounded. At airborne school, at Ranger School, he said it was dark. They deprive you of sleep. The goal is to break you and see if you'll keep going. And he said, Calvin, all I could do was look at the boots and the Ranger tabs. There's something on the back of their hats and helmets, just called cat eyes. It's just two reflectors. And sometimes even the moon will reflect, not long enough to be picked up by the enemy, but it reflects enough for those who are following, who can't see, to see the next step. And he shared that with me years ago. And he's like, all I knew was take the next step. And you're talking about going up a mountain, 15 miles below. Now you got another 8 miles to go. One step ahead. This requires focus, though, which is why your narrative has got to be sharp. You got to know what you're here for. Because if you keep listening to other people, they'll knock you off your course, and you won't have course correction because you have not protected the narrative. You got to protect the words that direct where you're headed. Course correction is important, like top shelf stuff. Because if you are snared by your words, thank God you can also be justified by your words. But many times people snare and justify, and they're in a personal tug of war, and they don't see any movement, and they see somebody running by them because they have a narrative protected. It's not luck. It's not because they're white. It's not because they're a man. It's not because they're educated. It's not because they're smart. All that could have something to do with it. But the most important thing is they know where they're going because they told themselves, and they got on that course. See, we got to get rid of all these cards. Just throw them in the trash can. What you can't do cards. You got to get rid of the carnal cards. That's a word right there. Carnal cards. You got to get rid of the carnal cards. The this card, that card, this card, that card, this card, that. You got to get rid of it. And you got to know where you want to go because it's already in you. It's set forward. It's meaningful. It's excellent. So let's do this. So what we've done tonight is talked over 2020 purpose points. Just a few. 3. There are many, many more where this comes from, and I'm going to unpack some more stories in 2021 so that you can see yourself in that story, so that then you can walk that part out because you see the example. Sometimes that's all we're missing is a good example. So now that you are going to become that example, then be the example for somebody else. I hope this helped you. Just double checking here. Looks like everybody's good to go. Yeah, I hope this really, really, really helps you because next year is the year. 5781. 5781. The 5 is you can see, you can plow, there's a fence, and there's the strength of an ox. So can you see where you should be plowing? Can you see it? If you can see it, you can have it. Use your strength. And the strength is 5781. and 2021. So we have earthly and heavenly strength working together in your field where you should be plowing. I know you can see that. I know you can. I know you can see that. Yes, you can, because it has been set forth. It's obvious. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, lift up the light of his countenance upon you, and give you his great peace. Now, if you want to give to the ministry, tonight is a great time. This is the last Wednesday to give. If you haven't given all these Wednesdays, it's a wonderful time to give tonight as the last Wednesday of 2020. You can go to kdchurch.org. You'll see a brand new website there, and you can still click on the Give tab, and it's thank you in advance for your gifts. In addition to that, if you want to know what we're up to, once again, go to kdchurch.org, click on the events tab, whole list of items, most of which start in mid-January. One that I want to highlight is called One Race, One Blood. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, please jump on that. You need this in the midst of all this mayhem, wars, rumors of wars, different ethnos fighting and things of this nature. It's right in the scripture. We need to know how to help people with it. One Race, One Blood will help you do that. We will start airing that. Go to the website and see the dates. Mid-January in the events tab. And we're super excited about what's going to happen with that, along with all of the other aspects of the ministry, which you can find at kdchurch.org. I'd like to also remind you that we're fasting starting January 1st. The fast is basically this: 1 hour of prayer per day. You can break it up how you want. You can bring people in if you desire, you and your wife, you and your children, you and your family, however you want to do it. Each person prays 3 minutes each and come back around. You do that 4 times and your hour is done. Why the hour? Well, that's what he gave me, to be honest with you. You can pray for 20 minutes, but the goal is 1 hour. So the idea here is keep pressing, press beyond the comfort level. And what are we praying for specifically? Righteousness. The umbrella of righteousness is really meaningful excellence. I should say meaningful excellence is righteousness. It's the state or condition of a person or a situation as it ought to be. So perhaps you're praying for the finances in your family, that it's right this year. Perhaps you're going to pray that your body is right this year. Maybe you're praying for the government, for the local government, for the state you live in, for the job you have, for the church you attend, for the relationships that are being forged, for the people who are in charge where it concerns you, that righteousness just rain down, rain down. You can pray that easily for an hour, easily for an hour. So when we get together on Mondays, we're going to be praying an hour for righteousness under those very categories. You can get some great examples of that when we started, which is Monday. Yeah, which is, let's see, first, second, third. Yeah, so whenever the Monday is, I think it's on the 4th, it's going to be fantastic. So join us. The other thing we're doing in the fast is picking an item or two that you know the Lord wants you to let go of. For me, I don't even have to have a real deep conversation with the Lord. I need to get rid of, during this little season here, and probably even more afterwards, sweets and wheat. Wheats don't really fit my blood type in that context. It doesn't kill me, but you know, you got a little extra. You want the extra to go, get rid of that. So for me, although I was raised on bread, I got to let it go. I'm going to let it go for these 21 days. I'm going to let the sweets go, including some really, really good vegan cookies that are so good. I'm not going to go into that. I'm letting them go for 21 days. And after that, I'm going to eat them on that. Correct that narrative. But you get what I'm saying. You know, is it television that you need to drop? Is it the bad habit of just sitting when you should be moving your body? Is it the bad habit of, I don't know, gossip? Whatever you need to give give it up for 21 days, starting on January 1st through January 21st, January 22nd. Hopefully you can go not back to normal, but you can be far beyond where you are, having prayed 21 hours. Can you imagine that? Have you ever prayed 21 hours in the first month of any year? Brother and sister, this is a great time to do something like that you've never done before. Praying for 21 hours in 30 days. Watch what happens to your February, your March, and your April with that kind of a laydown of seed in the earth. So I'm excited for you and excited to get together. And again, hope to see you tomorrow night at KDC at 7 o'clock for our New Year's Eve service. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you. May he be gracious to you. Lift up the light of his countenance upon you. And may the Lord give you his peace. Seems like I missed something in there, but he covers you. God bless you. See you soon. Happy New Year.